Okay, we'll start in a comfortable seat, however you're comfortable. Feel free to just sit down on the ground or sit up onto something. And if it feels okay, go ahead and close your eyes. And just take a moment here to turn your attention inward. Maybe feel into your body. Maybe notice what's happening with your breath. Maybe notice areas of tension in your body. Just taking a moment to sit with yourself. And now allow your breath to deepen. Allow your belly to expand each time you inhale. And each time you exhale, allow your belly to fall, your shoulders to get heavy. Imagine filling up your lungs to the tip top with each in-breath and emptying your lungs completely with each out-breath. And be with your breath here for the next few moments. Deep breaths, allowing your belly to expand and allowing your belly to fall. If at any point you notice your mind wanders, come back to your breath. Come back into your body. Take 3 more deep breaths this way. And with each exhale, see if you can soften 10%. Be it in your face, your shoulders, your hips, or even your legs. Maybe all of those areas. And the next time you inhale, gently blink your eyes open. We'll start today in table pose at the center of our mat. So take your time getting there. We'll come on to hands and knees. Bring your hands directly underneath your shoulders and your knees underneath your hips. Separate your hands shoulder width distance apart and separate all 10 of your fingers evenly. On your next inhale, round your back like a cat. Pull your chin in toward your chest and scoop your tail forward. As you exhale, cow pose, bring your shoulders in, let your hips move up and gaze straight ahead. Inhale, round your back, cat, press the floor away from you, feel space in between your shoulders. Exhale, cow pose, concave your spine, bring your shoulders in, gaze straight ahead. One more round. Inhale, round your back, cat pose. And exhale, cow pose. Come back to a neutral spine. And then turn your hands out so your fingertips point towards the outer edges of your mat. And then just start to rock side to side here, stretching out through the forearms, the wrists. And when you're ready, turn your hands back forward so your fingertips point straight ahead. And now, come on to the top of your right hand and point your fingertips back towards your knee. And just breathe into the stretch here through the front of your wrist. And go ahead and switch sides. Bring your right palm back down to the ground and turn your left hand over so you're on the back of your hand and your fingertips point back toward your knee. Breathe deeply here. And notice what's happening with your jaw. Come back onto your left palm. And then come into child's pose. However you get there, bring your big toes together to touch. Separate your knees wide or even just hip width distance apart. And lower your forehead to or toward the floor. Extend your arms out straight. And breathe. On your next inhale, come through table pose. And as you exhale, tuck your toes under, send your hips up and back, downward facing dog. Lower forward into table pose. Bring your big toes together to touch, separate your knees wide, send your hips back towards your heels, child's pose. Inhale, come forward into table pose. And as you exhale, send your hips up and back, downward facing dog. One more flow like this, come through table pose. And send your hips back, child's pose. Inhale, come forward into table pose. And send your hips up and back, downward facing dog. We'll stay in down dog this time. So feel free to pedal out your feet, roll onto the inner and outer edges of your feet. You can wag your tail, turn your head side to side. And when you're ready, find stillness and step your right foot forward in between your hands. Lower your left knee down to the ground and slowly lift your torso up. Bring your hands to your hips to start. Now engage your left glute, maybe work your hips down and forward towards the top of your yoga mat. You can keep your hands to your hips or lift your arms up over your head. Lift your heart, lift your lungs, and soften your jaw. On your next exhale, frame your front foot with your hands. Tuck your left toes under, lift your left knee up, and send your hips up and back, downward facing dog. Step your left foot forward in between your hands. And once you get there, lower your right knee down to the ground. Slowly inhale, lift your torso, bring your hands to your hips. Engage your right glute, maybe work your hips down and forward, feeling the stretch through the front of your right hip. You can keep hands to hips or lift your arms up overhead. Low lunge. Wherever you're at, relax your shoulders and lift your heart. Soften your jaw. When you're ready, release your hands to frame your front foot, downward facing dog. Lower forward into plank pose, top of a push-up. Always feel free to lower your knees. Take a deep breath in, and as you exhale, lower your belly, your hips, and your thighs down to the floor at the same rate. One at a time, walk your feet back so you create space through the fronts of your hips. Press your tailbone down, squeeze your shoulders in. Inhale, lift your heart, cobra pose. As you exhale, release, find downward facing dog. Step your right foot forward in between your hands. And now you have the option. You can keep your back knee lifted or you can lower it down to the ground. Nice work. Now feel your feet, feel your legs on your inhale. Lift your torso, bring your hands to your hips. Now with your hands to your hips, gently move your right hip back, your left hip forward. Squeeze your inner thighs in. You can keep hands to hips or lift your arms up overhead. High lunge. Lift up through the back of your left thigh so your glutes engaged. Tone your low belly and relax your shoulders. On your next exhale, release your hands to frame your front foot. Press back, downward facing dog. Step your left foot forward in between your hands. Always have the option to lower your back knee to the ground. Feel your feet, feel your legs. Inhale, lift your torso. Bring your hands to your hips to start. With your hands to your hips, move your left hip back, your right hip forward. Stay here or float your arms up overhead. Engage your inner thighs by squeezing your legs towards one another. Tone your low belly. Soften your tongue, soften your jaw. On your next exhale, release your hands, downward facing dog. Lower forward into plank pose, top of a push-up. Take a deep inhale. As you exhale, lower down. Again, walk your feet back. Press your tailbone down and squeeze your shoulders in. On your inhale, lift your heart, cobra pose. As you exhale, downward facing dog. Okay, one more lunge series. Step your right foot forward in between your hands. And then spin your left heel down. And keeping the bend into your right knee, lift your torso up. Bring your hands to your hips. Nice work. Okay, so this is warrior one in our legs. With your hands to your hips, move your right hip back, your left hip forward. And then lean weight back into your left leg so you feel the calf stretch. Keep that, and then bend deeper into your right knee. Keep your hands to your hips or lift your arms up overhead. This is warrior one. Lift your heart, lift your lungs. Find your breath. Now on your next exhale, windmill your arms open, spin your foot, your left foot parallel to the short edge of your mat, and gaze over your right fingertips. Feel free to glance back at your left arm. Make sure that your hand's in line with your shoulder, and gaze back over your right fingertips. Press your tailbone forward, bend into your right knee so your right toes are turning straight ahead. So you're in warrior two. Yeah, perfect. Take another breath here. And as you exhale, windmill your arms down. Take your time, find downward facing dog. Step your left foot forward in between your hands. And then spin your right heel down so your toes point towards the top right corner of your mat. And now keeping the bend in your left knee, lift your torso up, bring your hands to your hips. With your hands to your hips, move your left hip back, your right hip forward. And now bend into your left knee, lean weight back into your right leg so you feel the calf stretch there, and then maybe bend deeper into your right knee. Stay here or lift your arms up overhead, warrior one. Soften your jaw. Even relax the space from your shoulders to your earlobes so you create more space there. On your next exhale, windmill your arms open, spin your right heel down so it's parallel to the short edge of your mat. Keep your left toes pointing straight ahead and gaze over your left fingertips. Maybe even glance back at your right arm, make sure it's in line with your shoulder. Gaze back over your left fingertips. Press your tailbone forward and tone your low belly. On your next exhale, windmill your arms down, downward facing dog. Lower forward into plank pose. On your exhale, lower all the way down. Walk your feet back, press your tailbone down, squeeze your shoulders in. Inhale, lift your heart, cobra pose. As you exhale, downward facing dog. Bend your knees and hop, step, or float to the top of your yoga mat for a forward fold. Relax your head, relax your neck. Lean weight forward into the balls of your feet. On your next inhale, bring your hands to your shins, lift up halfway. As you exhale, forward fold. Two more just like that. Inhale, hands come to shins, lift up halfway. Exhale, forward fold. Last one, inhale, lift up halfway. Exhale, forward fold. On your next inhale, lift both arms up overhead, upward hands pose. As you exhale, release your arms down by your sides, mountain pose. Okay, now at the top of your mat, step your right foot back about 3 feet behind you. So, and then make sure all 10 of your toes point straight ahead. And try to see your feet like railroad tracks. So your left foot's out to the left, right foot's out to the right. And then bring your hands to your hips. Have a bend into your left knee to start. And then start to lower your torso parallel to the floor. and then frame your front foot with your hands. Okay, now here, you can keep this bend into your left knee, or moving your left hip back, right hip forward, you can start to straighten your left leg to your capacity. For this variation of intense side stretch, we'll keep the torso lifted. So try to keep your head in line with your spine, in line with your tailbone and your hips. On your next inhale, bring your hands to your hips and slowly lift your torso up. Hop your right foot forward, step your left foot back. So now here, your feet are about a yardstick's distance apart. All 10 toes point straight ahead, and your right foot's out to the right, left foot's out to the left. Now bend into your right knee just a little bit and start to lower your torso parallel to the floor. Belly will come to or towards your thigh, and then release your hands to the floor underneath your shoulders. Now you can keep your right knee bent, or you can start to work your right hip back in space, straightening your right leg to your capacity. Again, we'll keep the torso lifted for this variation of intense side stretch. So try to feel your head, your spine, your tailbone all in one line. Send your breath into your right leg, the back of your right leg. And when you're ready, if your right leg is straight, do bend it slightly. Bring your hands to your hips and lift your torso upright. Step your left foot forward. Inhale, float your arms up overhead, upward hands. As you exhale, hinge at the hips, forward fold. Inhale, lift up halfway. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, lift your arms up overhead, upward hands pose. Exhale, release your arms down by your sides, mountain pose. Okay, we'll do that intense side stretch one more time, but the option to fold forward this time. So step your right foot back behind you, about a yardstick's distance. All 10 toes point straight ahead, and your left foot's out to the left, right foot's out to the right. Bring your hands to your hips to start, and then micro bend into your left knee. And now start to lower your torso parallel to the floor, frame your front foot with your hands. Again, feel free to keep your left knee bent or start to straighten your left leg to your capacity. You can keep your torso lifted or start to crawl your hands forward, relaxing your forehead to or towards your leg. Wherever you're at, squeeze your inner thighs in and move your left hip back in space. Find your breath. Send it to the back of your left leg. If you crawled your hands forward, walk your hands back underneath your shoulders. Micro bend into your left knee. Bring your hands to your hips and slowly lift your torso up. Hop your right foot forward, step your left foot back. Find your railroad tracks, all 10 toes point straight ahead. Bring your hands to your hips and then micro bend into your right knee. Start to lower your torso parallel to the floor and then frame your front foot with your hands. Maybe straighten your right leg if you'd like. Wherever you're at, squeeze your inner thighs in and move your right hip back in space. You can keep your torso lifted or crawl your hands forward, relaxing your forehead to or towards your leg. Find your breath. Send it to the back of your right leg. Take another big breath here. And when you're ready, crawl your hands back underneath your shoulders. Micro bend into your right knee or bend your knee deeply. Hands come to hips. Lift your torso up. Hop your left foot forward. Nice work. Okay, now step to the back of your yoga mat. We'll do some standing balancing poses here. We'll start with hands to hips. And then step your right foot forward towards the center of your yoga mat. Come up high onto your left toe tips and then bend your right knee. Now tone your low belly, squeeze your shoulders in, and then relax the space from your earlobes to your upper shoulders. Start to lower your torso parallel to the floor, floating your left leg up, maybe parallel to the floor. For this variation, you can keep your hands to your hips. You can also extend your arms out to the side like an airplane. Wherever you're at, feel your breath, feel your right foot. Take one more giant breath here. And as you exhale, slowly lift up, release your arms down by your sides. Find neutral. Okay, step back to the back of your mat if you did move forward. And step your left foot forward this time. Bring your hands to your hips. Come up high onto your right tippy toes and then bend into your left knee. Tone your low belly. Squeeze your shoulders in towards your spine and then relax the space from your earlobes to the tops of your shoulders. Now start to lower your torso parallel to the floor, floating your right leg up parallel to the floor this time. Feel free to keep your hands to your hips or even extend your arms out like an airplane. Find your breath. Feel your left foot. Another big breath here. Nice work. And as you're finished, come on up. Find neutral. You can shake out your left ankle, your left foot, maybe pedal out your feet if you need to. Awesome work. Okay, one more standing balancing pose, tree pose. Bring your hands to your hips, lean weight over into your left foot, come up high onto your right tippy toes. Now you can just spin your right foot in so the sole of your foot comes to or towards your ankle. This is tree pose. You could also slide your foot up to your calf. You can also reach down and grab for your foot and place it to the root of your thigh. As long as your foot is anywhere above or below your knee, you're safe. Press your foot and your leg into one another equally, and then press your tailbone forward. Keep your hands to your hips or float your arms up overhead, tree pose. 3 giant rounds of breath here. Notice where your weight shifts in your left foot. At the bottom of your third exhale, slowly release your tree pose. Come back to neutral. You can shake out your left ankle if you need to. All right, tree pose other side. Hands come to your hips. Lean weight over into your right foot this time. Come up high onto your left toe tips. Now you can play with tree pose here by just spinning your left foot in so the sole of your foot comes to or towards your ankle. Maybe you want to slide your foot up to your calf. Maybe you want to reach down and grab for your foot and place it at the root of your right thigh. Wherever you're at, press your foot and your leg into one another equally. You can keep your hands to your hips or flow your arms up overhead. This is tree pose. 3 full rounds of breath. Press your tailbone forward so your glutes are engaged, and always come back to your breath. Notice where your weight's distributing on your right foot. And at the bottom of your third exhale, release your tree pose, shake it out. Nice work, y'all. Okay, take a quarter turn whichever direction you'd like and step to the center of your mat. And once you get to the center of your mat, come into a wide stance. This is our last pose, and then we'll start to cool down. Wide leg forward fold, bring your hands to your hips, and then bend your knees, tone your low belly, and lower your torso parallel to the floor. Place your hands right underneath your shoulders. And now lean weight forward into the balls of your feet. Maybe straighten your legs, lift your kneecaps. Now you can keep your hands underneath your shoulders or start to walk your fingertips back in line with your toe tips, relaxing your head toward the floor. Wherever you're at, keep leaning weight forward into the balls of your feet and squeezing your inner thighs in. Take 2 more big breaths here. At the bottom of your second exhale, crawl your hands back underneath your shoulders. Micro bend or deeply bend into your knees. Bring your hands to your hips and slowly lift your torso upright. Take your time and find mountain pose at the center of your mat. Squeeze your legs in. And now take a quarter turn back to the top of your yoga mat. We'll cool down now. Inhale, arms come up overhead. Exhale, hinge at the hips, forward fold. Inhale, hands come to shins, lift up halfway. Exhale, forward fold, crawl your hands forward, your feet back, downward facing dog. Moving into pigeon pose, lift your right leg up high to the sky, and then bring your right knee behind your right wrist. Walk your left foot back behind you so you create space through the front of your hip. Always feel free, if this is too much for you, to sit onto your right bum seat. Squeeze your legs in. You can keep your torso lifted or you can fold forward. Find 3 deep breaths here. Once you've completed your third exhale, take your time, press yourself up, and send your hips up and back, downward facing dog. Lift your left leg up high to the sky, and step your left knee behind your left wrist, pigeon pose other side. Squeeze your inner thighs in. You can keep your torso lifted. You can have a seat onto your left seat, or you can fold forward. If you're seated onto your left seat, bend your back knee, and you can also fold forward there, if that feels good. We'll be here for 3 rounds of breath. Send your breath into your hip. Once you've completed your third exhale, take your time, press yourself up onto your hands, and send your hips up and back for your last down dog of class. Take a moment to notice here what your body feels like. Notice your mind. Maybe you have a little more space. When you're ready, lower your knees to the ground and come to lie down onto your back. Take your time getting there. Start with your knees bent, soles of feet to the ground, and separate your feet mat width distance apart. And just start to take windshield wiper motions with your knees. So lowering your knees to the right, coming up through center, and then moving to the left. We did a lot of hip opening today, a lot of hamstring stretching, so this should feel pretty good. If it doesn't, should is probably the wrong word to use. Hopefully this feels good. Once you feel symmetrical, come back up through center. Bend your knees in toward your chest, reach inside of your legs to grab for the outer edges of your feet or even your ankles. And then point the soles of your feet up to the sky. This is happy baby. Feel free to rock side to side here. Also feel free to stay still. You can also play with straightening one leg at a time, maybe even both legs at a time. When you're ready, release your hands from your feet. Wrap your arms around your shins. You can rock side to side here. You can also stay still. And when you're ready, open yourself up for your final resting pose, pose of repose. Extend your legs out straight. Extend your arms out straight. Relinquish all control of your breath. I'll call you back as soon as it's time, but for now, please enjoy your rest. This is Shavasana. Slowly start to deepen your breath. Bring awareness back into your body by way of wiggling your fingers, wiggling your toes, turning your head side to side. Feel free to reach your arms up overhead and take a full body stretch. And roll onto whichever side of your body is calling to you here and now. Take your time and press yourself up into a seat to face your screen. Feel free to rest your hands on your thighs or even bring your palms together at your heart. Thank you, thank you, thank you for sharing your sacred time, and thank you for practicing yoga with me today. As always, any questions, comments, concerns, points of clarification, please ask. Otherwise, I'll see you next week.